Morning. Welcome to the Monday, February 3rd regular meeting of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner Brooks Matthews to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come and attend to the people's business this morning. We just pray your presence here with us today. We pray that you would bless these proceedings today and that all we do would be pleasing to you and that we would be active in service for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Sir.
This time, I will consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the agenda as stands.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the published agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. You hear a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Carries as well. Okay, at this time, we will have a public comment period. We got a full house in here today, and I got a long sheet. Public comment period is a period of 1 hour, so we will go to a few minutes past 10 since I've got so many people. Each presenter only gets 5 minutes to speak. If you guys will cut down your time and allow, someone else to talk, we may be able to get even more than what we can, get done. So, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and first up, I'm going to have Miss Elizabeth Longman.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk about what goes on in Harnett County. We bring it to our commissioners so they might do something about it. For the third year in a row, we come about that sheriff's department. This morning, we're in court this morning to hear more about how when Wayne Coates makes mistake, he lumps up enough excuses to try and cover it, and all you end up is with a pile of minutia off of something that could have been corrected if policy was followed. I ask you guys, as the commission board, to require more accountability for the tax dollars spent in the sheriff's office. You should ask for video footage of what goes on in there. The body count since this man has been elected this time around, the body count just keeps mounting. How many dead bodies will you see under Harnett County tax dollars before you say we are not the author of murder? Because right now, you're just as complicit as the person who sits down there on Bain Street in the deaths and in the conditions of the inmates there, in the way citizens are serviced when they go and access what Wayne Coates list the sheriff's office provides. Citizens get punished for accessing services on our tax dollars here in Harnett County. There are no kings here. There shouldn't be any tyrants here. And at some point, the County Commission Board should say, we will not continue to fund terrorism or whatever he has going on in there without more accountability.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Frank Lewis.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I've got a couple of things I need to say. The main thing I'm here for is to talk to you about, let's have a county museum, okay? So what we think we need to do, Cy's here with me. Cy is the chairman of the Harnett Historical Commission, and we're 170 years old in Harnett County. I haven't been here that long, but I've been a resident for all my life, okay? But my family was. So it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to put something together. Now, when you do it, I honestly think you need to have a professional do it. They're good volunteers in all the county museums in this county, and work real hard. But if you're going to do it, you got to have somebody who's schooled in it. So that's one of the things I would mention to you. This county has a lot of history. As we said, 170 years old. We've got Scottish history out in the western part of the county. We've got our communities all over the county of the towns that have people that are working for each of the little museums that are there. It's also important to remember our Black heritage and our Native American heritage that we have here in the county. And that's part of what a county museum would be. People in this county, I guarantee you, will give us some things that will just be wonderful to have, just wonderful little gifts from people that are sitting on them right now saying, I really would like to give something to somebody, but they don't have anywhere to do it. You're going to have to probably find a building, obviously. My thought is we're in the library, we're in the county commissioner's meeting room, and right behind us is a vacant lot out there. That'd be a wonderful place to sit beside the library. And that's the kind of thing that jointly would be done. Education of our county schools and our county children. Former board member Jagger. I don't see any other county board. Our superintendent's here. Why don't they need some history of what Harnett County is all about? Irwin's got a lot of history over there with the mill. And so you just got to pick up on some of these things. And if there's anything any of us can do that of volunteering to work in the libraries, we'd be glad. I mean, the museums, we'd be glad to help you. I don't want to, and Si don't want to. We don't want to be in charge of anything. We will volunteer and help you in any way we can. But that's why you got to have somebody professional to do it. I mean, it really is. And I just wish you put it in your heart to think about things like that, that the county's got money, I would assume, that they could do something like that. It's time to do it. It really is time to do it. The other thing I came to talk about a little bit is that I have a real desire to help y'all honor people that are 100 years old that are members of this county. And, you know, it doesn't mean they've been here all their lives, but if somebody knows that somebody's 100 years old, I really think y'all would be honored to give them a certificate and say, gosh, we're glad to have you as a person in this county as 100 years old. That's really all I have today. Today's my birthday. So, all right, so I'm thinking 24 years from now, okay, y'all can know your math. 24 years from now, I can get my 100-year-old certificate. So just remember that. But please honor it, and there are people that'll help. The next time we're going to have, Si's going to come and speak to you about the business part of it. How you can make money off of these things as a museum. So put Si on the calendar the next time, and he'll have some numbers for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lewis, I think you have spoke to me about the 100-year-old award.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to let you know, and I told you when we spoke, the county does have such a plan in place.
Okay.
And we have been doing it for many, many years. So that's a request some of you probably remember. But we give every citizen that becomes 100 years old a proclamation. And we would bring them up here and we would honor them along with their families and their citizens. That's something was put in place after 2014. So I just spoke to my manager. I let him know that that is in place. So just to let you know, that will not be hard to do.
Okay.
I believe we actually have a resolution coming up for a former county commissioner who's turning 100 years old as well.
Yeah,
The next
that's
couple weeks.
special. That, be honest with you, and my wife will tell you this, we were in the grocery store, and I ran into Ms. Hill and had the greatest conversation with her. And that's what keyed me to talk about 100. And then I said, well, you know, I want to talk about a museum too. So while I'm here, I did that. So, but yeah, she's a great lady, and y'all will be honored, you know, later in life with your service to the county. So thank you all again.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, Ms. Claire Jones.
Good morning. My voice is a little bit better today. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. Again, my name is Claire Jones with the Harnett County Board of Elections, and I am coming to you to talk about using schools as voting precincts. And I know that has raised concerns, and I would like to take just a couple minutes to explain why removing schools as an option would be detrimental to voter access and election logistics. First, I want to acknowledge that schools may not be the ideal venue for every election. They come with challenges. However, they are at times the best option, especially in our larger districts, where we need spaces that can accommodate a large number of voters and the logistics of our election process. Schools are typically centrally located, accessible, and importantly, able to handle large volumes of people on Election Day. These are public buildings that on Election Day are closed for instruction, which reduces the conflict with regular school activities. Eliminating schools as voting options would severely limit our options for handling the number of voters we expect. Unlike other public spaces, schools offer a blend of large rooms, ample parking, and sufficient space for curbside voting, which is essential for voters with disabilities or those who are unable to enter the building. While other venues may be considered, many simply do not have the same capacity or accessibility, potentially resulting in long lines, limited parking, and logistical challenges that can discourage voter participation. One potential solution, though, which I would like to propose as a compromise, is to remove schools as early voting sites, while still allowing them to function as polling places on Election Day. This would give us the ability to maintain the use of these buildings during high-traffic elections while also ensuring the safety and security concerns are addressed by limiting the disruption schools face throughout the week. By removing schools as early voting sites, we can address concerns about safety, school operations, potential conflicts, while still keeping them available as efficient and accessible voting locations on Election Day. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure that all voters have the opportunity to vote easily, safely, and without unnecessary barriers. If we remove schools entirely from the list of precincts, we would face the challenge of securing alternate locations that simply may not be able to handle the same volume of voters or offer the same level of accessibility. This could result in longer wait times, complicated logistics, lower voter turnout. We risk creating more obstacles than removing them. In conclusion, while I understand and respect the concerns that have led to this conversation, I urge you to consider that schools, though not perfect, remain one of our best options for ensuring accessibility and efficiency on Election Day. I believe that a compromise such as removing them as early voting sites but maintaining their use on Election Day could address safety concerns while still supporting the needs of the voters and the integrity of the election process. One example would be possibly moving from the Western Harnett High School to the Benton Haven Community Center and Library. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Next up, Ms. Betsy McCormick.
Good morning. I'm Betsy McCormick, member of the Board of Elections. Just wanted to make two quick comments about the joint resolution. I do think there's a difference between the early voting sites and the Election Day sites. Most of the concerns that I've heard you express are regarding the safety of students, which on Election Day isn't an issue because the schools are closed. So I want you to consider that when you're considering the joint resolution. And my second comment is just with regards to the early voting sites, there is a process in the general statutes that allows the Board of Education to object to us using a particular location as an early voting site. As far as I know, that the Board of Education has never made that a formal objection to us. And so I would just say that maybe if we just use that process as opposed to having our own local law might be a better resolution to your concerns. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Larry Mitchell.
Good morning. My name is Larry Mitchell, 478 Century Drive in Cameron, Lexington Plantation. Today I just want to talk quickly about the Keep Harnett Beautiful program, which is managed by the Soil and Water Conservation. Harnett County is a beautiful county. We have good government, and many residents that I talk to enjoy Harnett County. But many of you have driven here to this meeting, and anybody watching on YouTube can say that our roads have a lot of litter on it. And I am a volunteer that goes out 4 or 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, and pick up litter. I try to go to the rural roads and concentrate on them. But however, Nursery Road, which is a highly traveled road, litter just accumulates right after I pick it up. I'm finding litter that is environmentally unsafe, and it's kind of dangerous picking that stuff up. You have to crawl down in ditches and see where all this trash is. Some of it's been there for years. And I know North Carolina Department of Transportation is responsible for this, but it's been there for a long time. I enjoy volunteering for the county. I can see a constructive assembly of getting the litter out of the roads, but it's overwhelming. We need more volunteers. And I know Soil and Water Conservation tries to have April and October as a volunteer month for picking up trash. It's April and October, so it's a month-long program trying to get churches, schools, and volunteers just to come out and help get this litter up. I find a resident that threw over their fence a trampoline, a full-size trampoline. I guess it's Harnett County's property now. I find when I find a good amount of trash, all you do is turn around, look in the woods to see where it's coming from. Trails of trash going into the woods. So that's personal property. So where's this litter coming from? I think mostly coming from vehicles that drive the roads, coming from trucks that are going to the Anderson Creek landfill, and just basically pedestrians throwing things down. Some of the trash is horrible to pick up. So I encourage volunteers to come out and keep our county beautiful and volunteer. Volunteering is a blessing for our county. And I'd like to thank everybody for your support.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Penny Muir, is that right?
Hello, thank y'all for letting me have, my name is Penny Setzer Muir. I live at 77 Pecan Drive, Spring Lake, it's Harnett County. I've been here all my life. I'm pre-50 this year, y'all, so almost 50. I come to ask y'all and plead, we need some kind of drug court in the system. You have from my research, they're supposed to be established in all 50 states, and I know of very well of Brunswick County, Fayetteville, Rowan County, that all have had members that I knew that's been partaken in these drug court situations for a drug problem we have in Harnett County. And I had a meeting with Mr. Coates on January the 24th, prior to the meeting that was supposed to be on Martin Luther King's Day. But he agrees there's no help for these young people out here that's got this addiction, and unless you have money or insurance. in a drug court, I've seen where it don't help everyone, but it does make a difference, and it's more than we got now. Our sheriff also says him and Susan will support me 110% with going forward with asking y'all for a drug court for Harnett County. And I feel like it will save our tax money eventually for, housing, medical, feeding, inmates. But I personally have a 19-year-old son that is addicted to meth and has been for quite a few years. And I've asked and begged and pleaded for help from Harnett County Sheriff's Office and got nothing. But they don't mind throwing him in jail, in prison, and not yet have they tried to help me with his issues. And he sits there now over $1 million bond, 70+ charges, and all regarding because he has a drug addiction that they will not help me fix or try to. But now it's too late for my son for this drug court, but I do think that it would help, and I'm sure it would help some other young people, older people. Could be our mom, our dad, our brother, or sister, our kids, grandkids. But right now there's nothing. And so I'm asking, and with Wayne Coates and Miss Susan's, they said they would back us 110%. And I have information. I'd be glad to send y'all emails of my conversations with Mr. Coates, administrators, people that has had drug court in their life. I have a lady that's with me today that I'm very proud of. That she's in, there's a couple of phases in Fayetteville, but she's doing very well. And maybe with her testimony, y'all will see how important it is. But thank y'all.
This is Caitlin Picorni.
I'm a little bit nervous, y'all, so I'm not going to read my whole testimony, but I'm 25. I'm a recovering addict. I have 2 kids, and I'll be 3 years clean this year. I participate in drug court in Cumberland County because I was on drugs really bad, and both of my kids got taken. But I'm at the end of the process right now to get them back, and drug court has pretty much helped me a lot with getting my kids back, and I just think that we should have something established in Harnett County for not just inmates, but people in general, also reoccurring inmates that actually do want to get help and that do have drug charges, I guess, that do want to get help. It's a very, very good program, very helpful. It's helped me tremendously. And I think we have like Veterans Court or something here, but if y'all would just think about possibly starting a drug court here, especially with the drug problems in Harnett County, that's a main issue out here. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. William McNutt.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. How are you this morning? Madam Clerk, would you distribute those documents? Thank you. I'm going to speak specifically in opposition to the resolution proposed, and I've submitted documentation for your perusal. I'm going to speak to 2 articles of the North Carolina State Constitution, as well as 4 specific statutory language that pretty much guides what we're talking about today. Under the first of all, I'm on the Board of Elections, and I'm also a citizen, voting, tax-paying citizen, and I live in Anderson Creek. The positions I'm taking are my own. Under the North Carolina State Constitution, Article 14, Section 3, General Laws. That's about a half a page long, but basically what it says is the laws must be uniformly applicable throughout the state. And I know in your resolution you talk in terms of a local act. No modification that you request can just be limited to Harnett County. We have 99 other counties. So it's going to have an impact. I don't know about the success in the legislature because of that. Article 2, Legislative Section 24, that limits
local, private, and special legislation, specifically sections 1 through 4, subsections. Now, the General Assembly shall not enact any local, private, or special act or resolution. There are 14 specific subjects, nor shall the General Assembly act any such local, private, or special acts by the partial repeal of a general law. And you're asking for the law to be repealed, in effect, that authorizes the Board of Elections to, quote, demand use of school facilities in the election process. Prohibited acts are found to be void, and that's the Constitution. And of course, we've all taken oaths to uphold the state constitution and follow the laws. As far as the laws are concerned, Section 163-129, it allows the Board of Elections to demand the use of the schools. Section 132.5 requires the cooperation of state and local agencies with the Board of Elections. Cooperation. 132.5C, the Harnett County Board of Elections need not have the approval of any other county boards or commission in their duties. But let's focus on our current situation. We use 2 schools for early voting. Early voting currently is 17 days. I've heard that the legislature is looking to reduce that from 17 days to 1 week. That may or may not happen. But election day shouldn't be an issue because schools are closed. It's a teacher's work day. There are multiple solutions to consider other than cutting the legs out from underneath the Board of Elections. And we have an existing statute that will help resolve this circumstance. And that's 2 pages long, and you can read it at your leisure. But basically, the Board of Elections makes a request 90 days prior to the early voting to an entity, school, building, structure. If there's no reply with it, and in that request, it states the specifics, the time, the date, the section of the building that's going to be in use, et cetera, all the details. The governing body has 20 days to respond, and if they don't respond, then that plan is confirmed. If they do respond and their response is negative, it then directs us specifically how to handle the issue. The governing body and the Board of Elections shall, it's not may, the word is shall, in good faith, work to identify a building in which to conduct early voting.
Thank you, sir.
And if
The time is up. I'm going to move on to the next. If you would
one
have
last
your
comment,
comments.
if I may. On the basis of this submission, I would respectfully request that the joint resolution be withdrawn. We all follow the existing law, and the governing body of the 2 schools or whoever else meet with the Board of Elections and in good faith work to identify a building within which to conduct early voting. I'm sure that the community wants their boards and commission to work together to solve community problems, not be at odds with each other. Thank you for your time.
Jerry Reeves.
Good morning, Jerry Rivas. A couple of things. I agree with Ms. Moirer's request about a drug court in Harnett County. I have been clean and sober since July the 1st, 1987, and that's not worthy of applause. I shouldn't have been stupid enough to do what I did. But one of the problems in America is we lie to our children about drugs. We tell them drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. When are we going to start telling our kids the truth? Drugs make you feel great. It is an incredible feeling, but it's got a bad side effect. It wears off. And then you fit back to feeling bad, and you have no money, and no job, and no family, and no future. And this resolution about taking away schools as a voting place, I can remember years ago, my late wife and I standing outside of Flat Branch Fire Department. If anybody knows how small that place is, there was no parking. I've seen cars slide off in the ditch there. The shoulders were soft, and you had to stand outside in the pouring rain waiting to vote. Schools are a great place to vote, and people are worried about school security. What school security? What school security is there? You go to Highland Elementary School, there's like 30 huts behind that place. A kid has to pee, there's no bathrooms, it has to walk outside and go to the main building. And the door's open. There's no security guards. There's no people watching. And it's funny, here a couple of weeks ago, we've had yet another death in the Harnett County Jail. Why don't they just change the name on the building to the Harnett County Morgue? You know, supposedly this week, they're going to start implementing the use of body cameras. It only took 25 years for Wayne Coates to step into the 21st century. The only reason he is over there is because the Board of Commissioners in 2016 were too lazy and too stupid and too gutless to call for a special election. They handed it to him on a silver platter. Him and his Masonic Lodge gang. And it's just sad. And I'm also wondering how many of you commissioners ever attended one of these meetings before you decided to run for commissioner? There you go. There you go. There you go. Why are you here? To advance your own agendas. Some of you who were shameful in your law enforcement careers don't even know the law. But thank God that our school system is so pitiful. We don't teach our children the Constitution. We don't teach our kids the Bill of Rights. And when you don't know what your rights are, they can be easily violated and they can be taken away. See, the First Amendment says you have freedom of speech. You have the freedom of the press. You have freedom of assembly. You have freedom of religion. And you have the freedom to redress grievances with your government. Those are the 5 tenets of the First Amendment. Most people don't know but maybe one of them. The Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. I had to pass background checks, FBI checks, North Carolina Department of Justice checks just to get a concealed handgun. How come I can't wear a gun to a county commission meeting? There's an armed deputy right over there. There's an armed deputy over there. Why does him having a badge on his chest make him a better man than me? Why does that make him more responsible than me? Are people afraid? I mean, it's just. But please don't take away the schools as voting place. It's a bad idea. And as far as alternative places, hell, you got this $30 million building that's empty most of the time. Why couldn't this be a polling place? Amen. Why can't the Board of Elections be? If you want early voting for 17 days, go to the Board of Elections and vote early there. All right. That's all I got. Thank you.
Sir, Miss Angie Collins.
Good morning. Wow, it's been a very powerful morning. I don't know how all of these comments are affecting you, but it has affected me deeply. But what I've heard is a person that's lived here all his life who wanted a museum, wanted to honor the life here in Harnett County. I've only lived here for about 26 years. My husband was born and raised here. His daddy was born and raised here. His daddy's daddy was born and raised here. So, I'm sort of familiar with that pride that people have, that feeling of hometown, and that we'll take care of each other. But then I hear from people that feel so, lost and underrepresented. And now I'm here primarily, I could say so many things, but here primarily to speak about taking schools out as polling places. I've worked polling places inside and out as a poll watcher, as a greeter, since 2016, I think was the first year. I spent a lot of time at Western Harnett, Andrew Elementary, Irwin. I've never observed an incident. I've never felt like the children were unsafe. I felt unsafe a couple times, but I never felt like the children were unsafe. It was always very separate. In fact, I never even saw the kids, like at Andrew Elementary, and we were right there in the front of the parking lot. I mean, I don't know what we're actually addressing here when you say the safety of the children. Is that the real reason for this action, is what I'm wondering. I mean, if we really cared about the safety of our children, these people up here wouldn't be begging for help to fight this drug problem here in Harnett County. That's something that could happen, but there's this problem that's being solved, and so I'm wondering, is it really for the safety of the children? I mean, Mr. Brooks Matthews, you're double dipping here. I mean, you're the superintendent of schools, and you're also a county commissioner. I mean, you can have a one-man meeting. That's kind of absurd to me. I know that there's over 20,000 students in the Harnett County system. I don't know how many people are actually in District 3. I know that there's over 141,000 people in Anger, and they're moving in here like crazy. I don't know what the current count would be. Where I live on 5821 in C210, our property is just surrounded by houses. I mean, what was once a private pond with otters and ducks and, whatever, is now, a main attraction for the real estate company to come and sell houses. So what I'm wondering here is, when you say it's for the safety of the children, when you say that, you're doing something for the benefit of the county, I just hear empty words. I don't see any real action coming from about that. What about the security officers, these SROs in the schools? Their salaries are like over $70,000 a year, you guys. That's big time money. How much more money is that than what the teachers are being paid? Why aren't they, involved in some of this safety for our children during voting? I've already mentioned that there's never been an issue that I've seen. I've mentioned the double dipping a little bit, that I don't feel like that's good representation of our students or our residents, and it can only be halfway done. So, I question the whole safety thing again. And what about the safety of the voters? I mean, this gentleman just talked about people going to this little bitty fire station and their cars sliding off the hill and standing out in the rain and things like that. Why would you make it harder for people to vote? That's what the real thing, background looks like to me, because everything else is empty. It just looks like an attempt to make it harder for people to vote. And that seems like a trend in the whole United States of America. And that's our one basic right. That's the one thing that a citizen can do, to have a voice. I don't get to talk to the President of the United States of America. It wouldn't matter, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whatever. They're not going to talk to me. But I can vote. And I can't come in here into this local government and speak my voice. Okay, it's time for me to be over now. But I would like to point out that a lot of these places, that fire stations, this, that, they don't have accommodations for handicapped people. They don't have accommodations for the curbside voting.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Ms. Kelly McCray.
Good morning, everyone. Concerning the joint resolution, it is very disappointing that the Board of Commissioners is trying to usurp the Board of Elections' explicit authority stated in the General Statute 163-128. Resolving these safety concerns stated in the joint resolution through our General Assembly is really simply an overreach and unnecessary. To date, our Board of Elections has conducted free, fair, safe elections, as well as being American Disabilities Act compliant. What's changed? What has changed? And what will be the next attempt to change already established methods? So let the Board of Elections continue to do their independent work and put the trust in them as they have so far to do a very good job of that. Thank you.
Mr. Richard Chapman.
Richard Chapman, 5220 Christian Light Road. Good morning. I wish to speak about the joint resolution as agenda item 6. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of this resolution is that it contains no supporting material. No Sheriff's Department incident reports showing problems during an election period, either last year or in previous years. No statements from investigating deputies as to the cause of any incidents or the resolution. No statement from Sheriff Coates about the safety and security risk presented by having voting occur at these schools or others. No testimony from teachers or students or principals or parents or poll workers. No explainer as to how long schools have been used in Harnett as voting sites and what, if any, impact that has had on school safety. No input from the Board of Elections, which is responsible for establishing voting sites and which appears to have been bypassed in the creation of this proposal. No information on the availability of alternative sites, their cost or effectiveness in conforming to voting law. You don't even include relevant portions of the state statutes or federal laws that you cite, or State Board of Elections Memo 2022-12 you refer to. Nothing. Just a bunch of unsubstantiated, whimsical assertions that the dual use of schools as voting sites is an inherently unsafe and ongoing threat. Here's the thing. Maybe it is. Maybe the resolution has it right, and students are in danger from voters, and voters in danger from them. Maybe we're all walking on thin ice, but you haven't made your case. Government is process, not personal whim. It is a legislative mechanism for identifying a problem, presenting solutions, testing them, and selecting the best fix based on utility and cost. Even local laws, which are supposed to be reasonable attempts to correct or prevent a problem. This resolution does nothing but confuse the issue. You say that schools are used as voting sites create inherent health and safety risks for students. That's a pretty broad statement. It needs explanation, but you provide none. You suggest law enforcement intimidates voters? How exactly? I had to get through 2 sheriff's deputies and a body scanner to get into this room this morning. Should I feel intimidated? And what about exploring alternatives? If our schools are in such dire circumstances, why not take a look at vote by mail? Works pretty well in lots of places and might be worthwhile in Harnett. As much as I respect Commissioner Matthews' vast experience in education, good laws aren't made by taking his or somebody's word for it. Legislators have a duty to prove their point, make their case, demonstrate their reasoning, rebut alternatives, and build consensus. None of that has happened, and I don't think we can count on our legislative delegation to pick up the reins. You should reject this resolution, and if you really want it, take steps to do it right.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Rebecca Brock.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rebecca Brock, 5220 Christian Light Road. I would ask that you not lower the water tap and development fees. Lowering them only serves the developers and a handful of citizens who build their homes. If water tap fees are lowered, the price of homes will not go down. Our effort will just put more money in the developers' pockets and not in the counties. And there are many county departments needing funds, and I don't believe the county commissioners need to be contemplating taking money away from our budget, especially after we've heard some comments today about a drug court. Will it just bring more development? Probably so, and that's not what people want. And those people do come out and speak about that. Secondly, I strongly disagree with this proposed resolution banning voting in Harnett County schools. A resolution is an administrative act taken on by a county board of commissioners to agree on county business. A resolution may be issued to express a board's policy, direct administrative or legal action, or to make a public statement from the board. Since you can't, as a board, make this resolution law, you apparently are expressing your will to the county. This banning of voting in school is already expressed in your legislative priority list that you've given to Penny, Bergen, and Pike. And they are to address that at the state level. Those representatives work for the people, not for you guys. And speaking of the people, we have not heard from citizens concerned about student safety during voting in these meetings during the 4 years I've been attending and watching the meetings. So I urge you not to vote on the resolution and let your legislative priority list be the representative's guide. Thank you.
All right, moving through. Patricia Johnson.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Johnson, and I live on Clearfield Estates. I come speaking as a retired educator who has been in schools where voting has taken place over the last 30-some years, and I have not seen, and worked as a poll worker in Harnett County for the last couple of years, and I have not seen any indication of a need to be worried about student safety. The principals know how to control the mobility of the students, and they are not in any danger. We are in a safe place. I think it's a good place for even the voters to come. It's accessible for those with handicaps or disabilities, and we are able to serve the public. When we start taking this voting process away from a safe space for everybody, I think it undermines our system. And like I said, I have not seen any indication of it being a disadvantage for anyone, and the children are safe and the workers are safe. Please take that into consideration. Thank you very much.
Ms. Kate Reichert.
My name is Kate Harrington Reichert, and I live at 6711 River Road, Fuquay, Varina. I'm here to address the issue on the consent agenda D, item D. As a citizen and as a prior candidate, I spoke with over 3,000 people. Never once did anyone ask me about tap fees. So I'm really puzzled about why it has been such a big issue at this commission. Not only did we hear Mr. Jaggers mention this in January, and asked for an explanation of why our fees were higher than local counties. Upon investigation, what I understand is our service is much better than other counties. But moreover than that, when Mr. Steve Ward was still here as director of HRW, he was asked to present to this board an explanation about the cost of the larger taps and the pressures and the bigger pipes. And what I don't understand is, why does this board have such concern about that? They are an independent enterprise. They have cost our budget nothing. What are we talking about here? He ran a program, and before him, when George Wood was here, I started following what was happening there at HRW. What I feel is, once again, we're looking at overreach from this board into things that are happening in our county that are working. Now, I can be accused of, you don't know what you don't know. Well, guess what? Neither do anyone else. And Mr. Morris, on the streets, or I should say the roads of Harnett County, there is a belief that you are the primary person interested in these changes, and that you are somewhat meddling in their business. And I just would like, as a consumer, as a constituent, to understand who's going to benefit from this change. Because as Rebecca just stated, if a developer has to pay more, he passes it on to the buyer of the home. So what is up with all of this? Is it the few people we heard Mr. Ward say actually needed an increased, larger tap? I just think this is something that our county and the residents of this county need to realize. We don't need a county commission board that is interested in overreach in this county. Mr. Jaggers, you ran that you also were interested in protecting farmlands and matching the pace of growth with the capability of providing infrastructure, including schools, which we now know out of all of our schools, all but 2 are over capacity. That's not been addressed yet. That's not been addressed yet, but you are concerned about answering a few questions about tap fees. I'd like to know who those people are that are asking. I actually don't necessarily think those people really exist. So somewhere, somebody has a reason that they are pursuing this that lies on this board. And this county deserves much better than that. Thank you.
Mr. Johnny Adams.
Morning, Commissioners. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. I'm Johnny Adams, 404 Executive Drive, Lillington, North Carolina. Main reason I'm coming today is I don't know if anybody else had this problem that owned vehicles in Harnett County, but for some reason or another, my wife's vehicle was a 2014 Honda Civic with a 4-cylinder and hubcaps, and it went from $5,000 in assessed value last year to over $10,000 this year. My other vehicle is a 2016, and it went from a $13,000 tax assessed value to over $15,000. Again, I don't know if anybody else has had that problem, but if you do have that problem, you can go see Miss Sherry over at the tax office, and you can fill out a request for assessor's review, and she'll look into it. And like I said, she did help me, but like I said, I'm just coming to everybody because everybody that's probably at this meeting right now has a vehicle in Harnett County. So I just challenge you all, before you act like a bunch of sheep and go pay your bill, look at your bill. Make sure you ain't getting overcharged. The other thing is, I'm a disabled veteran, and I got 2 children that go to Western Harnett High School. And that's where I always vote. I ain't never seen any problems with voting. And it's always been nice and dry. They got disabled handicap parking. And, you know, if you're worse than me, they'll even come out to your vehicle. So ain't nobody waiting in the rain. And like I said, I got 2 grandchildren that go to the school, and they've never came and said, hey, Pop, you know, we felt unsafe when y'all was out there voting the other day. So I suggest that, you know, the Board of Commissioners listen to the Board of Elections. It seems like they know what they've been doing for the last, you know, since I've been voting in Harnett County. And I also want to thank, if any board members had anything to do with the deputies and the jailers getting cameras, I appreciate it 100%, because, you know, we've had many problems in this county, and not only for the citizens, but also for the deputies. I think it, you know, only helps everybody if there's accountability with those cameras. And I also support getting a drug program here in Harnett County, because we got a lot of people that, you know, could also use that as well. Thank you for your time.
Roger Farina.
Hello, folks. Roger Farina, Living Barbecue. I am, initially I'm going to start off in my role as the district chair for the GOP. January has been a lot of fun for us. I had the opportunity to go up to the Capitol in DC and participate in the swearing-ins of Congress. I was at Brad Knott's office, and it was a lot of fun watching the whole process of the changeover of power and stuff like that. I know Congressman Knott is looking to open up an office in Smithfield, and then they're going to have remote offices that move throughout the other 7 counties in 13 congressional districts. Also participated in the inauguration. I don't think I've ever been that cold since I pulled guard duty in Korea. It was like 9 degrees out. It was amazing to participate in that process as well. They moved it inside the arena, and getting to see all the different participants. I got to wear 3 tuxedos, got to see Kid Rock and Village People perform on the same stage. It was just amazing to be part of that process. Switching over to being a constituent of Harnett County and talking about the polling places, having participated in a lot of these events, national events, like RNC convention, being a delegate there, and the inauguration, you get to meet a lot of people from across the country. And voting and polling locations and things like that are a concern across the country. So you know, it's a challenge, and I know you guys can live up to the task. A couple of years ago, you may remember, I stood up here for probably 45 minutes, talk about redistricting. I spoke about redistricting the polling locations as well. This year, there was, at Western Harnett High School, there were hour-long waits. At one point, when Congressman Knott came out, there was over 300 people in line. He shook every single person's hand because they were waiting upwards of 3 hours in line, even though there were 17 days of early voting. Western Harnett voted 15,000 people to vote, and some other locations had only a few thousand. I don't think it's fair in the grand scheme of things for the people in Barbecue or even Anderson Creek to have to wait that long. Plus, if there's a recount, 15,000 votes being counted versus some of the small districts, I don't think that's fair either. I think any change should be based on an equal volume. 100,000 voters should be broken down maybe to 25 polling locations of 4,000 people each. I think you should come up with a number so as we grow as a county, all the polling locations stay the same. This could help reduce voting times if the crowds are smaller. I've been at the polling locations every election day since since the Army moved me to North Carolina in 2004. I've been there. I've seen many different things happen. It usually occurs during dismissal times or when the kids are going out to sports. I've seen cars vandalized. I've seen yelling matches and things like that. I don't think it's fair to those kids. I don't think it's fair to take away the gym from them. It disrupts school and stuff like that. Also, if we start changing early voting locations and voting locations, we need to make sure that communication is out there to inform people of voting, because even this cycle, there is lots of people going to the wrong locations. Lastly, I've known Brooks Matthews for a long time, and he's a good man, and I'm proud to have him as a leader in this county. Thank you, Brooks, for your service. And lastly, I've stood here and listened to a lot of people talk about the prisons and the sheriff. Here's a concept. Don't break the law. You won't have to worry about the prison. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This will be the last one, I believe, on time. Mr. Lewis Bell.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Lewis Bell, and I am a member of the Board of Election. I'm a lifelong resident of Harnett County, educated here, and my participation in the electoral process, I can look back at former teacher who stressed that, concurred. I'm really glad to do that. Really glad that I listened. We also have education influence with our director, and Mr. Matthews, my son. So I want to say that safety for the students is everybody's concern. I don't believe there's anybody that's participating in the Board of Election, from the poll workers to the judges, that has does not have the best interest of the children at heart. We work really hard to keep that in the forefront of our thoughts when we're participating in elections. I see where, well, I did tell you, excuse me, that in the next 30 minutes before they drag me out of here, I want to try to convey to you that I am in opposition to the resolution being put forth between this body and the Board of Education. If I delve deeper into it, I'd have to question Mr. Matthews' objectivity being associated and capacity in both boards. But anyway, having to move, again, our polling places, it creates confusion. Sometimes our folks don't know where to go vote. They don't know where their polling, their precincts start and begin. And if we keep playing these musical places for the Board of Elections, that's going to only increase. It serves no good. At our schools, the children, I have not heard or witnessed any major incidents at school. And especially, I like to look back at our last current election. As big as that was, the Board of Elections and the electorate, we carried out without any incident at all. There was some concerns on my part that there could be some potential trouble, but we didn't have any. Also, I'd like to note that we have parents who have children in school that are coming to vote. So with parents' involvement, we have the school resource officers. If there's any issues with security, then it will be incumbent upon you to try to increase that if we need to. But we just don't need to move in an area where there may not be the accommodations that we currently have. I said, you've been pointing out the statutes of the Board of Election having full authority and responsibility for carrying out the elections, and we have the right to use any taxpayer building that's accommodating. And right now, the schools seem to be our best options. Those 17 days that we carry out early voting, we have no choice. And the main thing is you're putting forth a resolution to take us out of school, but with no alternative where we're going to go. When it comes to the Board of Elections, it seems like we're up very low on the totem pole when it comes to space and things that we need, such as right now building. I remember when we used to be in the broom closet. Now we got a smaller building, and you need something for the animal shelter. So we're asked to move and to give the choice of a building that is occupied by another entity. So I like to see more emphasis and more support from the commissioners and, of course, the school board as to how we can work together and assuring that our elections continue to be carried out fair, free, and safe for all of us. And with that, I'll take some questions, starting on this end, if you need to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, this time I will now close the floor for public comment period. I apologize. There was a couple to a few that we weren't able to get to because of time we still went over. At this time, we'll now consider a joint resolution by the Commissioners and the Board of Education requesting local statutory act that removes school buildings as voting places.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution as stands.
Second. Motion and second to approve the resolution as it currently stands. Is there any further discussion?
I have, I'm going to vote against it. And I want to tell you the reason why I'm voting against it. Because I listened to all these constituents here come here and voice their opinion. Let me say another thing to Mr. about people working at the poll, asking who up here has worked at the polls. I have worked at the polls for over 20-some years. Stood out there in the rain and in the snow. So when I got ready to run for office, I ran for the people that I represent. And that's everybody in this county. Now, I know some of my members on the board think I'm a very difficult person. I'm not difficult. I vote for the people. I don't vote for myself. I don't have no personal gains. Never have. So I vote for myself, and I want to say I'm going to vote against it simply because many have called my home. Many have spoken to me in the grocery stores and in the public. Now, I am concerned about the safety of the kids in these schools. So, whatever we can do to make it even safer, I'm willing to do that. Because there is some danger out there. But I just wanted to let you all know, because I've been labeled as a difficult person up here. And I don't care, because I'm going to always speak what's right for the people.
The resolution and doing, we do not need to vote while children are in the buildings. Having an election day, I am not opposed to them voting on election day in the building, where there's no kids in there. But heard a lot of comments today. And when the very first school shooting happened, everybody said, well, it's never happened before. Today, you're sitting here saying, well, we've not had any major issue, we've not had any children or teachers hurt, and we haven't yet. But it happens, then we come back and say, well, we had a conversation, but we didn't do anything that we could do to prevent it. So I'm sitting here saying, I'm kind of torn with the resolution because I'm not against them voting in the schools on election days. But I'm very much against voting in the schools while children are in the buildings, period. And that's the way I feel I don't think you wait till something happens, then make the decision that we should have done something.
That's true.
So to sit here and be, talk to like we don't know, we got personal. I have no problem those kids safe in that building. Has nothing to do. I gain nothing by that. I think the election day we should keeping them in the schools is fine with me. I think that's you got the best place to do it. But the days that the children are in that building, we need to do something different. And that's just the way I feel. So I don't really know how to vote on the thing because I don't have no problem keeping it in the schools on election days, but I absolutely do not want it in there during school time. And 17 days of it, or how, I didn't count out the weekend, so I don't know actually how many days are in the building.
I think the Board of Election has worked out a plan. The plan that Claire proposed seems to be a reasonable plan, but that's just a reasonable plan. We all know anything can happen. And if you move it, same thing. Anything can happen. We can't prevent incidents from happening, because I had an incident that happened to me the second year I ran, right out there at the polling place. But no one took it serious. No one did anything about it until now. People saying it's so unsafe, and it is. Don't get me wrong, it is unsafe.
What was the incident?
A lady dropped the gun out there on the yard because I was running and she was my opponent. Went to the sheriff. Nobody here took it as a concern either, because it was me. So I don't care what you say, I got to vote my conviction. And it is for the citizens and for the children. You want to prevent things from happening, make it more safer there for the children to be there.
Let me ask you a quick question. The school board hasn't addressed this resolution yet, right?
No, it's on the agenda for tonight. Mr. Jaggers, if I could add, as I stated at the last meeting, I have have initially talked with Ms. Jones as long as 8 years ago, before I was ever on this board, regarding my concerns over early voting. And I know it's been mentioned several times that students are out of school. Students are out of school because we purposely schedule a work day on that day. And I can do that for one day. I can't do that for 2 weeks. And so the issue is, in my book, with early voting. But I do believe this resolution simply states that if the Board of Education should decide to allow the schools to be used for voting, that they can be used for voting. So I don't know that the resolution specifically states that we're banning, that they would be banning voting at the schools. What it does state is that the Board of Education would be able to make that determination.
Gotcha.
Everybody want everybody to have an opportunity.
Well, I want to echo the same sentiments that Commissioner Jaggers had mentioned as well. I'm not opposed to them being held at the schools when the children aren't there. That's always been my main concern, is the safety of kids, and there's many examples that can be given. Things that I witnessed, was there that time when that pistol dropped out about 25 yards away from the polling location doors. I've been up there when people have handed me their pistol or put it in my truck that was parked right there, who checked themselves before going in, but realized, hey, I'm on school grounds, I can't go in there. Can you hold on to my pistol for me? I'm worried about the people that don't check themselves. I'm worried about the people that we are inviting into these schools that we don't know about, that are around the kids while the kids are there. 3 hours of lines at Western Harnett is how long, people are out there waiting in the rain. We've given some other options. I've personally discussed and mentioned the YMCA, which is a county asset down on the western side, right off 87. Also the old Benhaven School. So there's examples and there's places out there, you can go and look in Mr. McNutt in your folder here that you gave, you know, and it says about if there's, you know, unavailable buildings or there's not other options. We're giving you other options here. I'm asking you to find other options.
May I speak?
In just a minute, yes, sir. But we've discussed this before, as well as breaking up these precincts and these locations, and this is y'all's job, and we're not trying to get involved with that. But our discussion here is with having it held at schools while children are there. So I don't know how to clearly, communicate that concern to y'all, and if y'all can address that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to, just a minute. That also is a concern to me. I'm not oblivious to that, but I really put that information before you so you would consider it. And truly, I rely on 166.35. And that statute is 2 pages long, but it sets out what we should be doing to resolve this issue. The governing body, this commission, the Board of Education should meet with the Board of Elections. And the statute clearly says it shall, in good faith, resolve the issue. We don't need legislative change, we just have to use the existing law. And I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk with you about that and get all the different opinions that we need to make an intelligent decision. The second point, you're talking about redistricting. We started as the Board of Elections to address that issue the beginning of the year. Tomorrow night, we have an additional meeting that we've publicized, and we actually have set forth multiple maps showing possible locations. We're talking about splitting one of the areas. This is just to readjust the voting. We're not redistricting. Don't misunderstand. But what we're going to do is get a reasonable number of people to voting places. We know we're going to have growth in the Northwest, so we want to have accommodation there. We know it's going to expand in Angier. We may want to consider splitting that into 2 polling places. We know we have less people over in East and West Eversboro. So we can combine those, and instead of having 2,000 or 3,000, we could have 7,000 or 8,000. And if we have a goal, something in the matter of 7,000 to 8,000 for each voting place, we're not going to have the 2 to 3 hour waits outside. And whether it's going to be at a school or other location, I don't think that you're going to come up with the funds to build new structures for us in different areas. Don't expect that. But prudent use of our funds, we have to use what we have, and we have the schools. I agree. 3 weeks ahead for early voting is ridiculous. We did a cost-benefit analysis a couple of years ago, and it showed that we were only having 7 people come into polling places on those early voting days. How is that a good use of not only the location, the money, the poll workers, the costs of doing it? And of course, we also have to have volunteers. We have poll observers. Well, all of those things bear into it, and I'd like to have an in-depth discussion with you folks to resolve it in a manner that really accommodates all of the issues and is best for our community. And so I think rather than passing the vote right now, to hold it in abeyance, let's get together. Let's have our meeting and discuss the possible solutions and resolve this issue. And I'm going to say that same thing this evening at the Board of Elections. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question as well?
Yes, sir, please.
Mr. McNutt,
Yes, sir.
did I just hear you say that y'all are going to be discussing combining precincts? Did I hear east and west?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so
That's going to be...
So then, you as the Board of Elections will indeed be moving polling places. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And believe me, we've distributed the proposed maps. We had a lengthy meeting last month where we had several proposals. We're seeking the input of all of the people in the community, the party leaders, and we urge everyone to come to our meeting tomorrow evening. We're not making a decision. We're doing our research. And then after that meeting, we intend on going out to the community, to a couple of the precincts, to reach more people, to find out what their views are. This is a decision that's going to impact all of us for several years. I would think there would be some interest in discussing it and working together. Thank you.
We currently have this is not a public hearing.
You guys, you need to
Mr. Rivas, Mr. Rivas.
This
Mr. Rivas.
proposal makes it sound like you want to remove school buildings, period.
Mr. Rivas.
If you have a problem with early voting, then do the early voting at the Board of
Mr.
Elections.
Rivas,
You
thank
heard
you.
all these
This
people
is not a
speak out
public hearing.
against.
Public
I don't
comment is
care,
done,
Matt.
Mr. Rivas.
I don't
Now
care.
you're disrupting
the
meeting.
Yeah,
sir.
I'm disrupting the meeting, just
Will you
like this
please sit
gentleman
down,
did.
please?
You let him speak.
I called him up to the
but
podium. I'm calling you
You
down
heard what
from-
all these people said, and you're just going to ignore the people. You're just going to ignore the people,
Jerry,
and
please
it's
sit down.
bullshit.
Please sit down, Jerry.
This sucks.
No, ma'am, this is not.
Oh, no,
No, ma'am, we are not having a public hearing right now. I have a motion and a second on the floor. We are doing discussion. I called that gentleman up. Thank you.
Can you call me up? I am the chair of the Board of Elections.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
This is not a public hearing, though. We are not having any more
Right.
discussions after this.
Yeah, I got in before 9 o'clock, but the clipboard had already been taken up. I just want to say, and maybe Claire needs to come back and clarify, she has worked out the issue with the school on voting days during early vote. So we are working on that. Thank you for closing, whoever said they closed the schools, gave it a work day. So that issue is not anything you should be worried about. The kids will not be there on election day. We need the schools. If you think that we're going to find readily 7, and maybe you're not don't feel impacted today because most of your elections are over, but there are others coming behind you that have elections. If the schools are closed during election day, your problem is done. Claire, you can come back and tell them what your plan is, because apparently it seems to me like to me that maybe that wasn't clear.
So, in speaking with my thing, I was talking about the compromise as far as using other locations for early voting instead of schools. I have spoke, individually with our board members. We are meeting tomorrow night is our official meeting at 5 where we're going to discuss all of these plans. But one of the options was, like I mentioned earlier, instead of using Western Harnett for early voting, using the Benhaven Community Center. We do know that the Western part of the county does have a higher voter turnout, so also maybe having an additional site in the western part of the county, as opposed, can't talk. Instead of using the Anderson Creek Elementary School, maybe using the Anderson Creek Fire Station. That way we have 2 locations in the western to help pull some of that population out, still not use schools. Lillington, we don't use a school. Irwin, we don't use a school. The only other thing the board needs to address would be Anger. We don't necessarily feel like the Anger Fire Department is an equivalent to the school, so we may have to consider using another space in that side of the county, such as Northwest Harnett Fire Department. But these plans have not been finalized yet. They're just still discussions. Again, getting us out of schools for early voting, but still being able to utilize them on election day with the teacher work day.
When is y'all's meeting?
Tomorrow at 5.
5 o'clock. Mr. Chairman.
I make a motion that
That's what I'm
the
asking.
commissioners meet with that's my proposal in the very beginning.
I think we got invitations to meet.
I made the motion that we meet with you guys and come up with some kind of solution.
Okay, since we're gonna allow any and everybody to speak here, Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor a minute?
Yes, sir.
When we called you up here 2 weeks ago, we asked to make a solution to come up with this problem, and you two decided to go on the attack. Okay? Yes, ma'am, you, the chairman of the Board of Elections, elected to attack
I
this
did
board,
not
me
attack
particularly,
you.
rather
I
than
gave
trying to
you
resolve the
options.
problem. So we took another step.
She went back and we
Excuse me, ma'am, I'm
had
not finished
communications
speaking.
and she solved the problem.
Okay, well, you did that long after what you spit in our face up here, and they intend to put this resolution up, and then you can still use the Board of Education property if they see fit.
Here, Chair's gonna make a motion to table this until, next
Thank you.
week.
Thank you.
I will second that motion. I'll second that motion.
I'll second it.
I second it.
Okay, a motion and a second to table, we'll go ahead and table this to next week. All right, it's time we now review and consider
Hey,
applications.
you got to call for the vote.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
I got but table supersedes the third motion, correct? Yeah, so I got a motion and a second to table this till next week. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
I got 2 nays. This will be tabled until next week. All right, review and consider applications for various boards and committees.
Mr. Chairman, as far as the ones that I go, I would like to move on the first one, Ms. Nicole Turner, to consent. The next one down, Mr. Robert Cole. On the planning board, Mr. Timmy Adams. And Board of Equalization, I think that was Mr. Dan Andrews on mine.
You put that in the form of a motion?
I make that a motion.
All right.
Could you repeat that, please?
Repeat it? Okay, the first one was, on the first page was Miss Nicole Turner. The second one down was, on the Board of Adjustment was Robert Cole. And the next one of mine with the next page was, the Planning Board, Mr. Timothy Adams. And then the last one was Mr. William Andrews.
That's for approval.
Are you, for me?
No,
that was mine.
Motion to approve those.
May I ask a question about the planning board?
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming that is a non-district position, is that correct?
The planning board one.
Alternate's position that is not district tied.
Right.
Thank you.
Do you have any objections with that, Mr. Matthews?
Well, I would like to nominate Ms. Laura Penny for that position as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I need to, do you call it to a vote?
Well, I don't.
I can go ahead. I'm fine with the reappointment of Ms. Melody Stewart. I'm also fine with the appointment of Ms. Laura Barney, and that would be for Commissioner for Women and Youth. And those are district sensitive, I believe.
Okay, so the recommendation for Ms. Barney and Ms. Penny.
Ms. Stewart for reappointment for Women and Youth, and just under that, Ms. Barney for appointment.
So do you want to take these one at a time then?
Well, I can.
Mr. Counsel, how do we need to do that one? Since they're not put on the consent agenda, just go ahead and individually. Okay. Here we'll start. We'll take nominations for, you said Ms. Laura Barney?
Yes, sir.
For
Which one?
Commission on Women and Youth.
Right, first one.
Put that in the form of a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion, since these are district-specific, for the reappointment of Ms. Melody Stewart and for the appointment of Ms. Laura Barney from District 3.
Oh, I'd second that.
All right, got a motion and a second to
For the
approve.
Harness County Commission for Women and Youth, I'm sorry.
All right, have a motion and a second to appoint Ms. Melanie Stewart and Ms. Laura Barney to the Harnett County Commission for Women and Youth. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
Now, Ben, we're still in that set. You want me to do mine?
Yeah.
I would make a motion to appoint Ms. Nicole Turner to the Commission for Women and Youth.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Ms. Nicole Turner to the Commission for Women and Youth. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, I have, for District 1, I have Carolina Williams, but I'm not quite sure if that position is,
She's in District 4, actually. There was an error.
okay, so
on this
there's an
front
error
sheet.
with her and there's an error with Melanie Stewart because she's not in District 1 either.
She's in 3, correct? Yes, ma'am.
So I don't have any.
Okay. At this point in time, for right now, because I haven't had contact, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Robert Cole to the Board of Adjustment.
I got a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Robert Cole to the Harnett County Board of Adjustment. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk.
Hey, on this one, I'll withdraw Mr. Adams right now.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to appoint Ms. Laura Penny to the alternate position on the Harnett County Planning Board.
Second.
A motion and a second to add Ms. Laura Penny to the Harnett County Planning Board. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously as well, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chair, on the Board of Equalization and Review, I would make a motion to appoint Mr. William Dan Andrews.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Mr. William Dan Andrews to the Board of Equalization and Review. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously as well, Madam Clerk. All right. County Manager's Report, Mr. Trout.
Mr. Chair, I don't have anything this morning.
Pardon? You're good?
No report.
Outstanding. I understand we have a need for closed session.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I need a motion to
Chairman, I
approve the
did miss
budget
the budget
amendments.
amendments. Yes, thank you.
Motion so moved, Mr. Chairman.
A motion and a second to approve the budget amendments as requested by the finance officer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All those carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Any need for new business? I understand we have a need for closed session.
Okay. I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to continue to consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, namely the workers' compensation claim of Stewart Strangle versus County of Harnett, IC file number 21-028288.
Chair will second. A motion and a second to go into closed session. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We'll now move into closed session. In closed session to reconvene in open, we'll call the meeting back to order. And
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second to adjourn. We are adjourned.